Okay. So, let us carry on. Have you all got a nice cup of coffee or something? Yeah? Keep you awake? Okay. So, coffee over here. Yeah, so all, all good. All set to carry on. So, okay. One of the things I maybe wanted to say before we carry on with the suttas is that so much about the Dhamma is about getting the early parts of the path right. So every time we talk about the Dhamma, we talk often about simple things. And the reason is because the simple things are the most important part of the Buddhist practice. And what is kind of remarkable sometimes in the suttas, you see how people who practice the simple things in a really profound and deep way, they are already very close to awakening here. The gap isn't that great. If you know how to be kind in a very deep sense of the word, if you know how to be generous in a very deep sense of the word, you're actually close to awakening here. Remember, meditation is largely automatic. Meditation is about closing your eyes and letting go, or just letting be and doing nothing, hanging out, yeah? So that's what it's about. But the reason why you can't do that is because the basic things have not been purified enough. So that is a lot about the practice, how it works. Get those basic things right, and everything kind of comes out of that. And I will show you later on, I've been talking about this before here, the similarities, for example, between how generosity is explained in the suttas and how enlightenment is explained. There's lots of things in common, because if you are a truly generous person and if you are enlightened, both of those things are about giving up the sense of self. When you are generous, you are doing the opposite of holding on. This is mine. Keep your hands off. This is my stuff. This is my coffee. I'm just warning you. And just in case you thought that I was kind of going to live up to this, but I'm not. Not when it comes to this coffee over here. So the point is that the vocabulary used for a truly generous person is very similar to the vocabulary for enlightenment. Because you're giving up the sense of self. Yeah, if this is not mine, it means you're not holding on. You're letting go of the self in a simple way. And when you become enlightened, you're getting go of the self in a profound way. So the more generous you are, the closer you are to enlightenment. A truly enlightened person is also a truly generous person. These are not different things. And so, if you practice the simple aspects of the path fully, you are close to awakening already. That is what is so extraordinary about this. All of these things that we're talking about now that has to do with living in the right way, understanding the fools and the wise people, being kind, all of these things, these are really just about metta. Three things: metta, karuna, and kind of right view. Metta and karuna are the highest expression of kindness. And then there is a bit of right view on top of that. And these three things together, that's really all you require. When you come to the very end of the Noble Eightfold Path, Samma Samadhi, that Samma Samadhi is based on developing these qualities in a profound way. And this is kind of really interesting, because it means that the way we think about the Dhamma is a bit different. What we do in our daily life, how we treat other people, how we treat ourselves, all of these things, this is what really matters the most. And everything else is really, you can meditate till you're blue in the face. Or till whatever, you can meditate and meditate. It doesn't get you anywhere because you haven't really purified the foundations enough. So when meditation happens just automatically, you just sit back and you just wait, and the nimitta comes and you go into samadhi automatically. That's when you know you have done the preliminary things in a proper way. So this is one reason why I think we should actually emphasize the preliminaries on the path a lot, and why for every one of us, this is what we should really think about, because this is actually the hardest part of all, is to do that. It is quite hard to be a truly kind person all the time. It kind of goes against most people's natural tendencies, but this is what really this is all about. And so this has to mean that we have to change the way we think about things. It means we have to change the way we perceive other people and the world, because only then is it possible to bring out these good qualities fully. So this is really the hard part. So if you think it is hard to be kind all the time, welcome to the club. Yeah, this is to be expected. And this is where the work has to be put in. So let's carry on now with the fools and what are the different characteristics of these people. So I'm going to have a quick look at a couple of verses from the Māratajjanīyasutta, MN50, a rebuke to Mara, and it goes as follows. Though a fire doesn't think, I will burn the fool, still the fool who attacks the fire gets burnt. So don't attack any fires. That's what he's saying here. In the same way, Mara, in attacking the Buddha, you will only burn yourself like a fool touching the flames. The fool is someone who touches what is hot, thinking it is cool. That's kind of what the fools do, not understanding the heat. And this is specifically here about Mara attacking the Buddha. And obviously that's going to be extra bad karma. And so you're touching the very hot flames when you attack the Buddha. But we're all a bit like that. We think that we're doing something useful. We think that we're creating happiness. We think we're doing something good. Actually, we burn ourselves instead. Do you want to be burnt? Or do you want to be unburnt? De-burnt. It's the path of de-burning. That's the Buddhist path there. So I hope you can get a bit de-burnt. That's the idea with this little retreat here. So we can kind of remove some of those old scars from previous burning here, or at least reduce their significance. And this next sutta adds to that, and it kind of fleshes this out a little bit. The same principle with Khema. Khema is one of the famous bhikkhunis. I think this sutta is about the bhikkhuni Khema, who was the foremost in wisdom, according to the Anguttara ones, the Agga Savaka suttas. And this is from the Devaputta Samyutta 22. Fools and simpletons behave like their own worst enemies, doing wicked deeds that ripen as a bitter fruit. It's such a simple but powerful idea. Are you your own friend, or are you your own enemy? There's another sutta about this in the Kosala Samyutta, where the King Kosala goes to the Buddha, and it basically says the same thing. And here this is another version of that sutta, if you like. Fools and simpletons behave like their own worst enemies, doing wicked deeds that ripen as bitter fruit. If you act badly, you're not hurting the other person, you are hurting yourself. We think that we're hurting someone else. Maybe I need to take revenge. I need to be angry with this other person. And we think we're hurting someone else. But actually, you don't know whether you're hurting the other person. It depends on who they are. Maybe they refuse to be hurt. Maybe they refuse to take it on board. When I sometimes behave badly with Ajahn Brahm, he just looks at me as if I'm crazy. Maybe he's right. Maybe sometimes behave a bit crazy here. Yeah, you want to have argument or whatever, and usually you want to have an argument because your ego is stuck on some idea or stuck on some view, and so you can't really let go of that view, and so you want to argue about it. But actually, maybe not really necessary to argue about that view. Yeah, it's the ego that wants to be supported. The ego that kind of gets built up. It's the ego that gets hurt if someone disagrees with you or someone says your view is stupid. Yeah, the ego doesn't like that. Your view is stupid. What? So be very careful with this. Yeah, don't harm yourself, because you may not harm the other person, but you will definitely harm yourself if you do something bad and you do your wrong deeds. It's a beautiful way of thinking about it, because it changes your outlook entirely. Why am I hurting myself? That's kind of crazy. You will have to bear the fruit of those bad actions down the track. Okay, so now we're going to have a little bit of a look at the way of the fool and the way of the wise. So how do they live? How do they act differently? And this, of course, this will also help us to recognize the fools and the wise people. And there's something, again, these are small little things. None of these suttas are super exciting or super profound, or maybe they are profound. This is the weird thing. We think that morality is at the beginning of the path, so it's not profound. But actually, morality, true kindness, that is actually very profound. And so sometimes we underestimate the simple things on the path. So this is from the Anguttara Nikaya 4's Numerical Discourses, Sutta number 115. So many suttas in the Anguttara Nikaya, 115 suttas. So you can see, probably this is why you haven't read all of them, because too many. So mendicants, there are these 4 things. What for? There is a thing that is unpleasant to do, and doing it proves harmful. So there are things that are unpleasant, and doing it is harmful. This is like you don't like breaking your precepts, but because it's unpleasant, then you do it anyway for whatever reason, and then it's painful in the future. So it's unpleasant now and unpleasant in the future. And so these are things that you don't do, because why would you do it? If it's unpleasant now and it proves harmful, you wouldn't do it. And so you avoid it because of that. That's kind of obvious. We can all agree on that one. That's kind of easy. There are things that are unpleasant to do, but doing it proves beneficial. So what is that? And again, this is the same kind of thing. If you are, if you find being moral is painful, and sometimes it is. Sometimes you have to restrain. Sometimes you have to hold back. And that sense of going against the ego or going against what is pleasant can be painful. Don't speak now, because now if I speak now, something bad is going to come out of my mouth. Even though my ego says now you need to be told off, okay, maybe this is the wrong time. So you hold back. And there's a degree of pain with holding back on what we want to do. It's a little bit unpleasant. Some people find it unpleasant to keep the 5 precepts. And the reason is because, again, they actually enjoy breaking the precepts. They enjoy doing bad things, like people who are compulsive thieves, or people who are compulsive liars, and people who like to drink a lot of alcohol or whatever. It's unpleasant to stop, yet you do it because you know it's beneficial. So this is so these are the kind of things we're talking about here. Sometimes we need to do what is unpleasant to gain benefits in the future. There is a thing that is pleasant to do, but doing it proves harmful. If you enjoy breaking the precepts, yay! Hooray! I can, find, I can mess around with other people's husband or wife or whatever. A lot of fun in the world to be had, and yet in the long run, it's a bad idea. So, and then you have what is pleasant to do, and doing it proves beneficial. That's kind of easy. If it's pleasant, you enjoy keeping the precepts, hooray, keeping the precepts, and then it's beneficial as well. So that's kind of what we're talking about here. Or you enjoy your meditation practice, or enjoy having metta for the whole world. That's when the Dhamma becomes very powerful, when you enjoy your meditation deeply. And of course it has very pleasant results as well. So let's see how the Buddha explains this. Take the thing that is unpleasant to do, and it proves harmful. This is regarded as a thing that shouldn't be done on both grounds, because it is unpleasant and because doing it proves harmful. This is regarded a thing that shouldn't be done on both grounds. Makes sense? What's the point of doing something if it's unpleasant and it has harm? Don't do it. No one will do this. Next one. Next, take the thing that is unpleasant to do, but doing it proves beneficial. It is here that you can tell who is foolish and who is wise in regard to human strength, energy, and vigor. A fool does not reflect. Despite the fact that this is unpleasant to do, doing it still proves beneficial. They don't do that thing, and so that proves harmful. But the wise person does reflect. Even though this thing is unpleasant to do, doing it still proves beneficial. They do that thing, so that proves beneficial. So this is where the wise person is different. If something is unpleasant, but you know it's going to be good for you, you bring up the courage, you bring up the strength, you bring up the energy, the vigor, it says here, to do it, because you know that in the long run it's going to be beneficial for you. And usually, if you do something that is unpleasant now, it is only marginally, it's a little bit unpleasant, it's not a big deal, but the future benefits are usually enormous. That's the point here, because you're practicing the path. You are maybe building up a life in the heavenly realm, right? And a little bit of unpleasant that you gain now proves greatly beneficial for the future. And if you want to practice the noble path all the way to the end, you're going to have to go through some of these unpleasant things, going against where your mind inclines, etc. So it is worth it, worth holding back. How can we do that? How can you hold back on those things that are unpleasant to do, but you know you should be doing them? And one of the ways of doing that is to be much more patient in the way you live your life. Don't act straight away. If you act on impulse, if you act without reflecting, you're going to do many silly things. And remember that some of the defilements in the mind, the ill will you may have, or the desires that you have, they are very compelling forces. They tell you, act. Now is the time to act. Now you have to do whatever it is that you want to do. They're very compelling. And so you end up often acting too quickly in life. But if you want to do what is right, even though it may be unpleasant, wait, stop, don't act straight away. Ask yourself whether you're acting from ego, from selfishness, or whether you are actually acting from the Dhamma. What is driving this force in you? And often if you wait, you start to tell the difference between the Dhamma and the ego, the Dhamma and selfishness. It becomes more clear because you are standing back, waiting for the clarity to arise. You know already what is Dhamma. You know what is right to do. But often it's a bit deeper down. You need to go beyond the immediacy of the selfishness, the immediacy of the ego, to allow a deeper knowledge and understanding to arise in you. And often that means just waiting a little bit. Wait, hold back, don't act straight away. This is kind of what we have to do very often. Ask yourself, what do the suttas have to say about this? What would the Buddha say in this particular case? What would the wise person say in this case? And then you act differently. So go slowly in life. Don't go too fast. Easy to say, but hard to do sometimes. But this is often the right way. If in doubt, don't do anything. Because all you're going to do is harm yourself. Do you want to be your friend, your own friend, or do you want to be your own enemy? Be your own friend, right? Why not? One of the things that we have in our Buddhist society in Perth, which is really nice, we have all of these teddy bears in our retreat center. and it's really nice because it's not just teddy bears, it's all kind of stuffed animals sitting there. And so we have one of the corner of the asana, the seat for the monks. There's a whole pile, a mountain of teddy bears. It's not a mountain of goodies, a mountain of teddy bears. It's a kind of similar kind of thing here. And it's really nice because sometimes people don't have enough kind of self-compassion and self-love or whatever. And sometimes the retreat is feeling a bit rough, because people are not used to being kind of doing nothing for so long, and it's really hard. I shouldn't use my mobile phone. And so then after a while they grab a teddy bear, and then they sit there in meditation, they're holding around the teddy bear in meditation. And it's nice, because a teddy bear reminds you of softness, of gentleness, of all of these kind of positive things, and people grabbing, and they say, I kind of like that idea. And these are people who understand the idea of being kind to yourself, moving towards gentleness, moving towards kindness, moving towards softness. It's such an important thing, And without that, basically this becomes impossible. So be kind to yourself. Do good actions. Reap those good results in the future. Understand that sometimes you have to do things that are not immediately pleasant, immediately rewarding, but you have to wait a little bit. I was recently, not so long ago, I was in my little kuti. I have a kuti in a monastery in Perth. I have a little hut in the bush, in the forest. Really nice kuti. Much better than your house. Very small. It's only like 7 square meters. It's a few of those tables put together. 3 of those tables put together. Something that's my size of my kuti. And it's great to have a small house. Almost no cleaning. Takes 2 minutes to clean. To sweep the floor. Done. Really, really nice. And the best thing about my kuti, it's far away. I can't hear anyone or see anyone in my kuti. I'm just completely by myself, except for a few mosquitoes and kangaroos or whatever. But it's really kind of far away. And it's a great kuti. I don't know if any one of you has seen my kuti. Sometimes we have kind of tour. I also have a really nice kuti. I have this incredible view as well. So I could, if I'm smart, I can sell that property. Probably worth $1 million or something. But actually that would be bad, right? That would be pleasant to do, but bad results, right? No, I can't do that, so I'm not going to sell that property. So in my kuti, because it's just a small place, I have no toilet. So my toilet is kind of up the hill behind the kuti. It's about maybe 30 meters to go. It's a hole in the ground. That's my toilet. It's the best kind of toilet. Just a plank. You remove the plank and you can kind of do what you have to do. The best, and open air, and this is up behind my kuti, so if the view is even better. Isn't that nice to have a good view on your toilet? It's good, right? Because then you can kind of relax more. You have a nice view and all these kind of things. And so I have this beautiful view, seeing the Indian Ocean. I can almost see India in the distance because I'm facing west and slightly northwest. I can see kind of direction of India almost, and that's Sri Lanka kind of far away. So that kind of is always a nice thing to think of. And anyway, so I have to walk, those kind of 30, 40 meters or whatever it is between my toilet. And there are some trees in between. And sometimes those trees, they kind of overgrow the path. So kind of, that's kind of a bit of a nuisance. So sometimes I walk and I think, I got to chop down this tree because it's overgrowing the path. And of course I can't do that because I'm not supposed to chop down any trees. So I can get one of the Anagarikas to come up and say, this tree is in the wrong place. This is how we do things. We can't say chop it down. We can only say it's in the wrong place. And if the Anagarika is smart, they get it. If they are stupid, they say, I guess you're right, and they walk off. Okay. But if they have a little bit of brains, they will understand what you're talking about. So this is kind of how it goes. But actually, sometimes I realize that I'm just acting too fast. Maybe that tree doesn't have to be chopped down. Maybe I'm just kind of reacting out of a desire for having the path. Sometimes you want to go to toilet, it's urgent. You want to have the path is clear, right? Otherwise, it's going to be problematic. So, but actually, no, wait, I don't need to cut this down. Let me instead see what happens. And then soon enough, you see that there is an alternative path just going around. You can walk around that tree. Or you see a dead tree, because there's lots of dead trees in Australia because it's so dry, so trees dying all the time. So you can just take down the dead tree. Or there's a dead branch or whatever. And soon enough, you realize there is an alternative. I can go this way instead. I can do this. I don't have to kind of compulsively act on what is going on. And to me, that is a simile or a symbol for how we should live our lives. Go more slowly. Don't act compulsively. Don't pull that tree down straight away. Wait for an alternative route to appear. Because the alternatives are always going to be around. They're not going to be far away. And then the alternative appears. You walk around the obstacle, and the obstacle is no longer there. And that life is often like that. The obstacles, we discover ways around, we discover alternatives. So do that in your own life. Don't act too quickly. Very often the alternatives will arise. Very often doing nothing is the best kind of action. Ajahn Brahm is a master of that. He's great in that. You go to Ajahn Brahm and say, "Oh, Ajahn, this is going wrong. This monk is doing this monk is doing that, this lay person is doing this. What shall we do?" Ajahn Brahm says, "Oh, okay, whatever." No, it's not quite like that. I'm just kind of making it up as I go along. And he doesn't do anything. And then sure enough, one day later, it has resolved itself. No issue. How often isn't that true in life? When you just procrastinate, nothing needs to be done. You just wait. You allow things to work themselves out. You just smile to somebody, and then they change their ways because you smile to them, and it's all happy. Ajahn Brahm is the master of procrastination. I really recommend procrastination. It's good. Procrastinate as much as possible. Don't do anything is often the best way forward. And so sometimes you have to act, however, and the more time you have, the more slowly you do things, the more information you have, the more clarity you have in your mind to do the right thing. You can notice that with yourself. When you wait, you often act with more clarity, with more compassion, with more understanding. So this is what this is about. Then we gradually learn to sometimes you have to do what is unpleasant. In the long run it's beneficial, but move slowly, see what is right, understand, okay, now I have to take action, whether it's unpleasant or not. So this is how the wise person is compared to the unwise or the foolish person. The wise person procrastinates, the foolish person acts straight away. Maybe. Okay, let's go for the next one. I forgot to bring my little clock out. What time is it anywhere now? 1:30 already? Okay, so wow, it goes so fast. Okay, so let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back for some Q&A. Hello, Billy.
Yes, Bhante. Here, everywhere it mentions fools, it seems to refer to a fool as a wicked person. Isn't there a middle ground? A fool, not knowing, unwise, may not be doing something helpful, but at the same time may not be doing something harmful. But here, every time it mentions fool, it's like the fool is doing something harmful.
I think that is... I think that is kind of the idea here, is that a fool basically means someone who does bad things. That's kind of the definition in the suttas. A fool is a bala. Bala is someone who's like a child or someone who doesn't really understand. So it's not just the lack of doing what is good, it's also the actual doing of what is bad. But it's the thing about Buddhism, I think I don't like the word wicked. I think wicked is it means that you are evil or something like that. But in the Dhamma, we are all conditioned in a sense. So the right way of thinking about someone as a fool means it's almost like a term of endearment. If someone is a bit foolish, or they are silly. Silly is kind of a nice word, right? Because it doesn't put any blame on them. It's just that they are a bit, their mind is in the wrong place. But precisely because we are all conditioned, and it's not really a choice of ours to be foolish or to do bad things. It is important not to judge people harshly. We shouldn't judge people, even if they do really bad deeds. It is not appropriate to judge them. And in that sense, fool is a kind of a nice word, because fool means that it's less judgmental than a wicked person or an evil person, which is very, very judgmental. And so I think that Yeah, so we're looking at kind of the opposite two extremes, yeah, and most people will be somewhere in the middle. They will be somewhere in between, yeah, a little bit foolish, a little bit wise, but kind of in between there somewhere. Yeah. But I think it's an important point that regardless of how bad someone is, we shouldn't be judgmental. We should have compassion for them. They don't know what they're doing, and so that's kind of the part of the point.
Okay. Good afternoon, Ajahn.
Good afternoon.
I have a question. So here in the sutta, it says there's a thing that's unpleasant to do, but doing it proves beneficial, or there's a thing that is pleasant to do, but doing it proves harmful.
Yeah.
But I was just reflecting in terms of sometimes even if I have good intentions, right, to do whether it's a hard thing or an easy thing, to have a positive outcome.
Yeah.
But sometimes I might not know whether my action will generate a positive positive outcome. So for example, like helping a friend.
Yeah.
But sometimes I realize that helping the friend with good intentions wasn't beneficial for me or for my friend. But
if you do it with good intentions, it will be beneficial for you in the long run. Maybe not in the short run, because maybe there will be some, if it wasn't beneficial for your friend, maybe your friend gets upset with you because you are whatever. But in the long run, it will be beneficial because you're doing good intentions. Yeah. So your karma will be good. When you die on your deathbed, you will think back and think, yeah, I did the right thing. It was a bit painful at the time, but I did the right thing. Yeah. So you have to distinguish between. Also, it's important to distinguish here between benefit for who. All you can really decide on is what is beneficial for you. You cannot know what is beneficial for other people. Not absolutely. Generally, you can say this will be beneficial for others if you are kind to them. But sometimes kindness will backfire. So you have to base yourself on general ideas and do what is generally right, knowing that 90% of the time it will have good effect, 10% of the time it may have bad effect. That's okay. Yeah. So don't try to perfect these things. It's impossible to be perfect with these things. Just look at your intentions. Am I coming from the right place? And then you are doing the best you can.